Good morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with today's host is Sean Rogers, and he is the WLAN product manager and today. If anyone has any questions, please submit them in the question box, and Sean will be able to answer them at the end of today's presentation. Sean, thank you so much for being with Microcom today. It's our first webinar together. We're very excited to have you. I am finished for now. We're looking forward to what you're going to share with us. Go ahead and take it on over.
All right, thank you for having us. So good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are. We are a new vendor here at Microcom. Our products are not yet available for purchase, but they should be available very soon through Microcom. So I wanted to take today to do sort of a brief introduction. We're going to talk about our cloud management platform, and we're going to talk a little bit about our wireless access points today. We've got a lot of other products, and we aren't going to touch on those. I know Microcom likes to keep these introductions brief, so I'm going to go through the slides pretty quickly and just sort of do a high-level overview of everything. To start with, I'm going to start talking a little bit about our company itself, because I'm guessing many of you out there have never heard of us before or have heard the name but don't really know too much about us. So basically, wow, my slide skipped one there apparently. We are here basically looking to create simpler ways to make your life easier, to make things simpler, easier to do. Now, Zyxel has been making computer networking equipment for a long time. We got started all the way back in 1989. For those of you that remember dial-up ISPs, and more importantly, those of you who are working at dial-up ISPs, you might remember that Zyxel and US Robotics used to be in a very heated war for dominance of the dial-up modem space back in the day, racing each other for the faster and faster speeds, as well as integrating more and more technology into it. We have also been making Wi-Fi products since the late 1990s when Wi-Fi was a brand new thing, and we have been doing it ever since. We were, I think, the first to actually ship in North America a Wi-Fi 7 access point with a BE 22,000 speed rating a couple years ago when those were first new. And just in general, we're focusing on connecting people, protecting people, and making it easier for businesses to go about their business without having to think about their networks. And of course, you as a VAR, integrator, MSP, whatever it happens to be, we're here to help make things easier for you. So again, we've been doing this since 1989. So we've got over 30 years of experience of making networking equipment that solves the frustrations you have. So a quick summary of us. Zyxel, we serve 150 different global markets. And the fact that probably many of you haven't heard of us or aren't that familiar with us tells you that North America has not been a big focus for us when it comes to what we call the channel, which is selling business networking equipment. Here in North America, our focus for most of our history has been on the telco side of things, selling equipment to the telco providers itself. Europe, on the other hand, fully jumped in and embraced business networking in the early days, and because of that, we have significant market share in Europe and some other countries around the globe. Our main corporate headquarters is based out of Hsinchu, Taiwan, and our North American offices are based out of Anaheim, California. We offer free phone support as well as free email support, and that is all handled by Zyxel employees based out of our Anaheim office, provided you're calling during business hours. If you call outside of our local business hours, we will redirect the call to our European support team or one of our Asian support teams to help you out. But you're always dealing with a Zyxel employee. We don't outsource our tech support to third-party companies. Our warehouse is also located here in Anaheim, California, as is our marketing and sales teams. So I am a member of what's called Zyxel Networks. So a number of years ago, Zyxel split into what's now called the Zyxel Group, which is our parent company with a bunch of smaller companies under that. So Zyxel Networks is focused primarily on business networking, switches, security firewall products, access points, etc. We do have some sister companies that you may run into, and this is an area where there is some confusion here in North America. Zyxel Communications is our sister company who focuses on the telco space. So it's very possible if you've been to a more telco-oriented trade show, you've run into the Zyxel communications team and may have been confused when they didn't know anything about our switches or firewall products. We are both based out of Anaheim, California, and we are trying to work a little bit more closely together to cross-sell things, but in general, these have been two different branches doing their own thing in the past. So that's it as far as the introduction to Zyxel goes. Now I want to talk a little bit about Nebula. So Nebula is our hardware management, or excuse me, our cloud hosted management platform that supports our business products, making it easy for you to manage these through the cloud. We currently support over 130 different devices, ranging from everything from access points to switches, security gateways, even an LTE outdoor router that can be all managed through a single pane of glass. So Nebula was the first full stack cloud management platform aimed at the SMB space. We launched Nebula all the way back in 2016. We are not, this is not something that's new to us. Back then in 2016, really the only full stack solution that was out there was Cisco Meraki. We saw what Cisco Meraki was doing. We saw what some other companies like Aerohive were doing, specifically just with wireless access points, and said, you know, this is something that could be really beneficial for SMBs. But the problem was solutions from Cisco, from Aerohive, et cetera, were really aimed at the enterprise space and were priced to be at the enterprise space. So we decided to bring this and make an affordable cloud management solution for everybody. So we'll go through just a couple, again, a high level overview of it. So one of the cool things you can do is set up without unboxing. You do not have to take the hardware out of the box itself to be able to set it up and start configuring it. Most Nebula products have a QR code on the outside of the box or on the belly label of the product itself. And you simply scan that with the Nebula mobile app. It's got a little QR code, you scan it, you assign the device to one of your customers and to a site. And from that point forward, you can configure the device. All configuration options are available for you through the Nebula Cloud. Once you get on premise and plug in the device, it will see that you want to manage it in the cloud, and it will automatically then update its firmware and download the configuration you've set for it in the cloud. So there's nothing you have to do or your installers have to do locally. Everything is ready to go. You just plug it in and you're done. In addition to that, obviously, you know, one of the big time sinks in setting up a new network is that initial configuration. So we give you a number of wizards and cloning tools to help make that process simpler. We used to do a live demo back in the day where we would set up a firewall, switch, and an access point and have everything up and running with a guest network and an employee network, all VLANed off from each other, and from start to finish was less than 5 minutes. So with Nebula, all your management is done through the Nebula platform. You simply go to nebula.zyxel.com, log in with your Zyxel account. All of your customers, all of their sites, all of your devices are right there for you to manage them. It makes it super simple. So no matter where you are, if you have a web browser and an internet connection, you have access to your customers' networks. So Nebula was always designed from the get-go with the idea that it's for those of you that are doing business customers that are helping and servicing other customers. So VARs, MSPs, system integrators, whatever it happens to be. And so it's always been built from the ground up with that idea in mind. So therefore the interface is optimized to make it easy for you to jump between customers, jump between locations, manage an admin team, etc., and make it super simple and easy for you to do. All configuration, all firmware changes are handled through the cloud. You know, there's no reason that you need to go on site and touch the device unless, you know, someone's unplugged it and it needs to be plugged in or there's some sort of hardware failure or something. When it comes to firmware updates, those are absolutely schedulable, so you can make sure firmware updates are applied when it's convenient for your customers. So just touching on a few of the features here real quick. On the security side of things, we make it super simple to do site-to-site VPNs. It's simply go in, choose your sites, choose your topology, and we'll handle everything else when it comes to the VPN configuration. For remote workers, we've got scripts that you can use that will automatically configure iOS devices, Windows devices, etc., and get them to remotely connect to the corporate VPN. We've also got some cool features like the ability to take an access point and turn it into a cloud-managed VPN appliance, which can be dropped behind an employee's existing, ISP provided router, and create an easy way to get onto that corporate VPN without worrying about double natting or software configurations or things like that. Nebula has a number of tools in there to help you spot and troubleshoot problems, the ability to store up to a year's worth of logs in the cloud, including a complete audit trail, so you can see who made configuration changes and when. The ability to automatically generate and sketch out all of the devices on your network and which ones are connected where, making it easy for you to help troubleshoot, where connectivity issues may be, and to be able to simply click on the icons for the devices on the map and be able to handle some configuration directly from there. Various other tools, ping test, reboots. Some of our switches have the ability to automatically detect when a connected device becomes non-responsive and power cycle the PoE to that device to help reboot it and get it online automatically. We have a number of tools on the switch side of things. Oops, I got ahead of myself. So on the security side of things, we've partnered with some big companies out there to help provide, next level cybersecurity, UTM, whatever terms you want to use for it. Companies like WebRoot, Norton, Siren, etc. And on the switch side of things, we've got a number of tools that make things easy for you to do things. We virtually stack our switches so you can configure ports across multiple switches simultaneously, a number of tools to visualize what's going on your switches, and the ability to do some cool stuff. Like if there's a certain brand of IP phone you're deploying, if you know the first few digits of the MAC address, known as an OUI, you can simply plug that into Nebula and say, hey, if I see a device plugged into a switch port and it's got this OUI, I need to move that over to my voice VLAN, or you can do similar things with other types of VLANs. So it makes it really simple, so you don't have to go in and configure it on a port by port or device by device basis. And on the wireless side of things, we use some artificial intelligence to monitor the connectivity of your wireless users. And we can automatically make tweaks and changes to the wireless configuration to try to solve those issues automatically for you. So let's talk about licensing. Nebula is free. So the main version of Nebula is called Base. It's absolutely free to use. There is no limit on the number of customers you can manage with the free version of Nebula. You have an unlimited number of sites you can manage and an unlimited number of devices. So, free cloud was a big thing a couple of years ago, and it's mostly gone away. Those free offerings that are still out there are usually pretty heavily nerfed with what you can do with them. So with our base version of Nebula, again, unlimited number of devices, sites, and customers can be managed. And I would say probably the majority of our people are using the free version of Nebula. We do have 2 optional licenses that we sell called Plus and Pro Pack, which unlock additional features. Pro Pack is by far our most popular one of these, and it unlocks a lot of the additional functionality that those of you providing managed services would be interested in. More admin accounts, more storage of logs in the cloud for you, access to those AI troubleshooting tools and some other tools that aren't available in Base. And at any point, if you are using Pro and your licenses expire, it simply drops back to Base. You don't get locked out of the hardware. There is no mandatory license. You always have control of your hardware and the ability to configure and use it. So when it comes, and I guess just on pricing, roughly it's, if you want to use Pro, it's roughly $30 per device per year. So we have what's called Nebula Flex. So, the Cisco Meraki way of doing things, and this is how we first started off when we were doing Nebula, was you had a line of hardware that is standard management and a line of hardware that is cloud management. We have gotten away from that and gone to what we call Nebula Flex. So basically all of our hardware by default out of the box is designed to be managed standalone. Typical way of doing things, go to the IP address, log into a GUI or use SSH in a command line to manage the devices. But anything labeled Nebula Flex can also be managed using our Nebula Cloud. And it's really easy to switch between the 2 modes. If you want to use Nebula in the cloud, you scan that QR code, you assign the device to a customer in site. Once you've done that, that device will detect that you want to manage it in the cloud. It will automatically put itself in the cloud mode. If at any point you want to stop using that device in the cloud and you want it to go back to standalone, you simply pull it out of your Nebula inventory and the device will automatically factory reset itself and boot back up in standalone There are differences in some features between standalone and Nebula mode, so the configurations are completely independent between the two modes. So when you switch it to Nebula, it downloads whatever configuration you've set up in Nebula. When you put it back into standalone mode, it starts over from scratch. So that's it when it comes to the Nebula Cloud Platform. Now let's talk about, I've got 5 minutes left here. Let's talk really quickly about our access points. So all of our access points use what we call an RF first by design philosophy. We've got additional shielding for deployments in large buildings where you have DAS systems rebroadcasting cellular signals to help filter out those bordering cellular signals. We also do not mount our antennas usually on the main PCBA. We have a subboard inside our units where the antennas are mounted to, and usually a shielding board between the main board and the antenna board. So even when you look at some of our more expensive competitors like Ruckus, they are mounting those antennas directly on the same board as everything else, where we don't. So when it comes to overall range, doesn't make much difference. But when you're dealing with those edge users that barely have a signal, makes a huge difference as far as the quality of performance goes. We also have a number of tools we use to make sure our products last. So we do not use any electrolytic capacitors. We only use solid state capacitors in our devices. You will also see we put a lot of attention to drawing heat off the board and components and venting it out of the units itself. So because of that, even on a $99 access point, we can offer a lifetime warranty on our access point hardware. So when it comes to the access point features themselves, they're all pretty much the same. We offer smart meshing features here. So if you want to do mesh, you can absolutely do that. Traffic shaping, the ability to use our connect and protect licenses, which will allow you to deploy a UTM-like security service directly on the access point itself. So if you've got a customer that wants some extra security for their guest users, but they're stuck with a certain router they got from their ISP, no problem, you can do it that way. The ability for our access points to coordinate with our security gateways to provide protection not only from threats coming out from the internet through your WAN port, but also threats being brought onto your network by infected wireless users. And of course, all the other features you'd expect to see, WPA3, seamless roaming, things like that. We have a couple wireless technologies that you probably don't see too often. One is what we call dual optimized antenna. So your typical AP is optimized to be installed on a ceiling. And that's what the antenna pattern has been optimized for. But if you end up mounting it on a wall and rotating it 90 degrees, you end up sending a lot of signal up into the ceiling, down into the floor, where it either gets lost or it can cause interference in multi-floor buildings. So our solution to that is dual optimized antennas, access points with two sets of antennas, one that's optimized for ceiling installation, one that's optimized for wall installation. And you simply choose which one to use based on where you've installed that particular access point. Our other big technology we have here is our smart antenna technology. Because I don't have a lot of time left here to go through it, it's very similar to Ruckus's BeamFlex Plus. It basically uses, instead of one set antenna pattern or two sets of antenna patterns, it uses an antenna array that can go through hundreds of different antenna patterns and optimize the signal for each wireless client. But also it takes into account where other sources of RF interference are, and chooses an antenna pattern that allows us to ignore those sources of RF interference, most commonly other access points using the same channel. And because of that, in real world deployments, we can achieve 140 to 150% airtime utilization. It makes a huge difference in performance and user satisfaction when it comes to dense environments where you've either got a lot of wireless users, a lot of wireless access points, or just any other sort of rough RF environment that you have. When it comes to our access points, we break them up into three categories. So we have our NWA series, which is split in two. The NWA models that are less than 100, so NWA 50, NWA 90, these are our sort of SOHO access points, prosumer access points. So these have a 2-year warranty on them, and they may be missing some business class features that you're looking for. For instance, the 50 series doesn't support captive portal. The 90 series doesn't support load balancing. And then the higher series, the NWA series 100 and higher, that's where our true business class access points start. They have access to all of our Nebula features. They have a lifetime warranty in them. So that's where our starting point is. And today we've got our NWA 110BE. It's a Wi-Fi 7 access point. It's selling for $99 with that lifetime warranty and with the full feature set there. And then we've got our W series of products. The W series is our sort of higher end business class products. This is what competes with Ruckus and some of those guys. These are the models that have the smart antenna in them, that have dual optimized antenna. By our security gateways. These are the models that can do collaborative detection and response, etc. So just to show here real quickly, we've got currently 7 different Wi-Fi 7 access points available. We've got 4 models that are dual radio, and unlike the TP-Link and Ubiquiti dual radio models out there, one radio on ours is 2.4. The other radio is 5 gigahertz or 6 gigahertz. It's user selectable. So you can deploy it today as a 2.4 and 5 gigahertz access point. And later, when more devices are supporting 6 gigahertz, you can simply flip the switch and switch that over to supporting 6 gigahertz, where most of the other dual radio models in this price point are only 2.4 and 5. They don't support 6. And then we've got 3 different models available that are full tri-radio setups. So you've got 2.4, 5, and 6 operating simultaneously. And I don't know what just happened there on my screen. And then the very last thing I wanted to talk about here is one of our security gateway products here. This is the USG Lite 60AX. It's, I would say, our most affordable security gateway. It is a lightweight gateway similar to something like a, what are they called, Dream Factory, Dream Machine, basically providing sort of built-in wireless security router with extra security services that don't require a license. And the reason I'm bringing this up today is just because this device here does mesh with our wireless access points. So it's a great solution for MXU type deployments where you're putting in a gateway and you're putting in access points and you don't necessarily want to run additional CAT cables to each of those access points. You can wirelessly mesh them to our gateway here and manage the whole thing through the cloud. And with that, I am done with the presentation. I'm sorry I ran a little bit long here. But if you've got questions, send them in.
Thank you so much, Sean, for all of that information and wonderful presentation. And don't worry about the time; you will never be cut off. And let's see, I have got about 5 or 6 questions for you. Let's get started with the first one. Fantastic. Thank you, Sean. Here we go. How is Zyxel integrating AI and machine learning into its networking solutions?
Okay, yeah, so I touched on it briefly. Basically, through Nebula, we've got AI tools in there. When it comes to our security products, we have a security solution that uses sandboxing and artificial intelligence using virtual machines. So it can detect and find zero-day exploits. The cloud links everybody together. So as soon as one of our devices finds a new type of traffic, it can isolate it in the cloud, and then we use the artificial intelligence there to detect, is this new type of traffic something that's acceptable, or is it something that's a threat? And if it determines it's a threat, it can instantly push that out to all other Zyxel security appliances, letting them know that there's a new zero-day threat so they can recognize it. On the switch side of things, artificial intelligence, if you're deploying IPTV, our AI can monitor the IPTV streams and alert you when we detect that some of the users may be having some problems with their IPTV streams, dropped frames, things like that. And we will suggest to you what configuration changes to make to try to solve those issues. And then on our wireless side of things, our Wi-Fi aid solution monitors the connectivity of wireless clients. And if it sees clients having connectivity issues, it can try to figure out what's causing those issues and automatically make some minor changes to your wireless configuration to try to solve those issues automatically for you. And then lastly, we have an AI assistant in the Nebula interface that you can talk to and use to help you find things. I personally have found it is the best search engine possible for all of our different sources of documentation, of being able to summarize those sources and provide links directly to not just the document that has the answers, but where in that document the answers are. So, you're trying to configure things, you're saying, hey, I need to use, I want this to automatically assign all of this brand's vendors devices to this VLAN. You can type that into the chat. It will tell you how to do that and provide you links to the documentation that you can reference. So that's how we're using AI today. as far as our business networking goes. I'm sure there's other stuff that we'll be able to talk about in the future.
Thank you so much for that, Sean. Next question here for you. How does Zyxel envision multi-gig switching evolving for SMBs?
So right now, when it comes to multi-gig switching, most of our Wi-Fi 7 access points are at least 2.5 gig. Our faster ones have 10 gig Ethernet ports on them. And we have got a huge selection of switches that support multi-gig. So on the low end side of things, we have our XMG 105, 108. They're available in both PoE and non-PoE versions. And they give you 5 or 8 ports of 2.5 gig multi-gig, and then a 10 gig uplink port on them. And those switches sell for under $100 starting. And then we go up from there. We've got, a switch presentation is going to be 30 minutes just by itself. We've got so many different models and series of switches. But so we've got everything from like this end, just a basic unmanaged multi-gig switches, all the way up to full, layer 3 plus, central office type switches to deploy, and everything in between. Most of those are all going to be cloud managed. We've recently just launched our 100 gig switches. So, if you need aggregation on the back end there, we've got the switches now that can handle that as well as higher speeds. I think the uses 25 gig SFPs, maybe faster. I'm not the switch guy, so I know we've got something new. I know it's super powerful and fast. I don't have all the details though, unfortunately. Oh, and one thing just to add to that. Sorry, Julie, I don't mean to step on your toes there.
Nope.
When it comes to our security appliances, we've just recently launched our USG Flex H series. So this is a new series of UTM firewall appliances. It's a brand new hardware platform and software platform specifically designed to be able to provide UTM services and security on the new faster multi-gig WANs that a lot of businesses are having. So I wanted to throw that in there as well.
Terrific. Thank you for that, Sean. Next question here for you. What new security features have been added to USG Flex H line?
So again, I'm not probably the best guy to be talking about this, since I'm mostly the wireless and cloud guy and some service provider products. But when it comes to the USG Flex H line, that's our next generation hardware. I think feature-wise, there's not much feature-wise difference between the H series and the non-H series. There is a new firmware. In fact, I would say the H series has had less features, but that's just because it's a new hardware and software platform, and it's been taking some time to port those features over. So starting with the new firmware update that's scheduled to release, I think, end of this month, it should be feature-wise on par with the old USG Flex series. The main difference, though, is this new hardware is designed to be considerably faster in its ability to everything, both just higher performance hardware, but also higher performance optimized software. So going forward in the future, I fully expect us to be able to add a bunch of features to the H series that the older USG Flex series hardware just wasn't going to be able to support, or at least not be able to support it at a speed that made it something that people would want to use. That's probably a whole other webinar topic with our security product manager.
Thank you, Sean. Next question here for you. How do Wi-Fi 7 APs support mesh environments across floors?
Okay, so the Wi-Fi 7 APs, they all do support mesh. Now, one of the cool things about our mesh implementation is our mesh implementation by default is MLO, multi-link operation. So it's going to automatically create multiple links across the radios in the mesh. So it's not like the old days of meshing where one radio was dedicated either to a mesh or was doing double duty, mesh and regular user stuff. And that was the only link. So now you've got multiple links. So one of the great things with MLO is not only do you get higher aggregated speeds, it means if one of those radios is having some interference or overloading issues, the other radio is automatically going to kick in and help carry the load for it. So it's going to make meshing much more reliable and give you quality of service that's much higher than what's being done, with the older technologies of just using 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. When it comes to, you know, connecting between floors, it's at the end of the day, it's still Wi-Fi. So that signal is going to need to be able to penetrate the floor or ceiling to be able to make that mesh link. MLO will certainly make things go a little bit smoother and better, but you know, at the end of the day, the signal has to get there. And if you know it's a really thick concrete floor or something like that, with rebar in it that's blocking the signal, it's going to be blocking the wireless signal, and you'll need to go to a hardwired connection, at least between the floors. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you so much, Sean. Last question here for you. Will network traffic analytics be built into your switches?
Yeah, so the switches, I'm not sure what level of analytics, and again, I'm not the switch guy here. But you know, we do have the ability through the Nebula interface there to be able to see things like, you know, the traffic over time, and we let you choose, you know, what window of time you want to look at to see what's been going on those switches, both the uplink and the data stuff. We have tools in there that let you know, when there's been overloading, when there's been multicast storms, other things like that, which may be causing issues on your network. That all gets recorded in the log. And then if you're using our security gateways, we have the ability to even break down network traffic based on not just the user device, but the types of traffic, the individual applications that are being used. So hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you, Sean, so much for answering all of the questions this morning. And thank you to everyone for attending today's webinar. And if anyone does have any further questions, of course, please feel free to contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to view any of the products mentioned or shown here today, please remember that this webinar presentation has been recorded and will be uploaded to our Microcom YouTube channel so we can all view it again. Sean, thank you so much. We very much enjoyed our first webinar with you. We're looking forward to doing this again fairly soon. I will definitely be in touch with you, and thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic day.